Hello students, in the previous class we have discussed the chapter Who Did Patrick's Homework till the 5th paragraph. Today we will continue the chapter. Okay? So when it came to maths, Patrick was out of luck. When it came to maths, Patrick was out of luck. Why Patrick was out of luck? Because the elf knew nothing about maths. He asked Patrick, "What are timetables?" The elf shrieked. He did not know even what are timetables. We elves never need that. He said to Patrick that we elves never need timetables. What are they? And addition and subtraction and division and fractions. And what is addition? What is subtraction? What is division? What are fractions? I don't know anything about that. The elf said to Patrick. Here, sit down beside me. You simply must guide me. The elf said to Patrick that, "Here, sit down beside me. Sit down beside me. You simply must guide me. You must guide me. I don't know anything, so you must guide me if you want me to work for you. Do your homework." Elves know nothing of human history. To them, it's a mystery. Elves know nothing of human history. To them, it's a mystery. So the little elf, already a shouter, just got louder. So the little elf, already who shouted very much, just got louder. "Go to the library. I need books." He said to Patrick, the elf said to Patrick that, "Go to the library. I need books. More and more books. And you can help me read them too. If you want that I should do your homework, then you must go to the library and borrow some books, because I have no knowledge of history, maths, or anything else. So, if you want me to do your homework, you should get me books." As a matter of fact, every day in every way, that little elf was a nag. What is the meaning of nag? One who troubles someone all the time by complaining or asking them to do something. Throwing a tantrum, you can say that. Like children, small children throw tantrum, na? They nag very much that I want this, I want that, I don't want to do this, I want to play, I don't want to study. Okay, so that is called nagging. As a matter of fact, every day in every way, that little elf was a nag. So, like small children, the elf was a nag in every way and every day. Patrick was working harder than ever. And was it a drag? What is the meaning of drag? Something dull and uninteresting. Okay? Something dull and uninteresting. So, as a matter of fact, every day in every way, that little elf was a nag. Patrick was working harder than ever. And was it a drag? He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary. Weary means tired, okay? Was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. Patrick was staying up nights. He had never felt so weary. He had never felt so tired. Was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. Because he was not sleeping well, so his eyes were puffed. आंखें सूज जाती है ना, तो उसको बोलते हैं the eyes were puffed and bleary. Finally, the last day of school arrived, and the elf was free to go. Patrick was working harder than ever, and was it a drag? He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary, was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. Patrick was struggling very much. He was doing hard work because he had to sit beside the elf and help him. So he was also studying with the elf. Finally, the last day of school arrived and the elf was free to go. Finally, what happened? The last day of school arrived. because only few days were left of school na. So the last day of school arrived and the elf was free to go. The elf was free to go because the promise that elf did to the Patrick was that he will do his homework till the last day of school, right? Till the end of the semester. So when the last day of school arrived, the elf was free to go. As for homework, there was no more because there was no more homework. The school ended, right? So there was no more homework. So he quietly and slyly slipped out the back door. So he quietly and slyly means secretively, चुपके से जो बोलते हैं ना. As for homework, there was no more. So he quietly and slyly slipped out the back door. As there was no homework, the elf quietly and slyly slipped out the back door. He slipped out. He ran away because he fulfilled his promise to Patrick that he will do his homework till the end of the semester. So he slipped out the back door. Patrick got his A's. His classmates were amazed. What happened to Patrick? Patrick got his A's. Patrick's result was out and he got A's. A's means the highest grade, right? So he got A's, which he never did got in previous classes, which Patrick never did get in his previous classes. Patrick got his A's. His classmates were amazed. His teachers smiled and were full of praise. Now see the language, the use of the language. There is rhyming even in prose, right? Even in the story, there is rhyming. Generally, you see that rhyming is in poems, but in this chapter, in this story, we see that there is rhyming, right? Like amazed and praise, they sound similar, right? So there is rhyming here, which is very beautiful here. Patrick got his A's, his classmates were amazed. When Patrick got his A's, his classmates were amazed. His teachers smiled and were full of praise. His teachers were also happy. Patrick's teachers were also happy that he have improved, right? And he got A's. And his parents, they wondered what had happened to Patrick. And his parents wondered what had happened to Patrick. How Patrick have improved so much. How he began to study. He was now the model kid. He was now the model kid. Cleaned his room, did his course, was cheerful, never rude, like he had developed a whole new attitude. He was now the model kid. He cleaned his rooms, did his chores, was cheerful, never rude. He was never rude to anyone, always cheerful, like he had developed a whole new attitude. Like he had developed a whole new attitude. He was a model kid now. Model kid means ideal kid, right? What are chores? Work that must be done every day, often boring, right? Like कपड़ों की तय बनाना आपका, है ना, या फिर घर के काम करना कुछ, तो वो सब क्या होते हैं, डेली कोर्स. Patrick got his A's, his classmates were amazed, his teachers smiled and were full of praise. And his parents, they wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid. He did all his homework, he studied hard, he did everything right, cleaned his room, he was never rude to anyone. Like he had developed a whole new attitude. Like a new Patrick had developed. A better Patrick, right? You see, in the end, Patrick still thought he'd made that tiny man do all his homework. You see, in the end, Patrick still thought, because Patrick always thought that that tiny man did all his homework. But I'll share a secret. But here the writer shares a secret. Carol Moore shares a secret about Patrick, just between you and me. It wasn't the elf. It wasn't the elf. Patrick had done it himself. Patrick had done it himself. You see, there was no magic. There was no elf actually. It was all make believe, right? It was all thinking of Patrick that the elf is doing his homework. Actually, what had happened? Patrick himself did all his homework, right? He himself did all his homework because self help is the best help. But he thought that the elf is doing all his homework. In reality, Patrick himself was doing all his homework. So, was your story, right? In this story, what we have read that Patrick was a boy who was very lazy, right? And he always wanted to play. He never wanted to study. But one day he met an elf and had an idea that the elf will do all his homework. But in reality, there was no elf. Patrick himself was doing all his homework, right? It was all make believe of Patrick that the elf is doing all his homework. In reality, Patrick himself was doing all his homework. And Patrick changed. He did all his homework. He was never rude to anyone, cleaned his room, and was a better person. So, in this story, what we have learned that a child or a person can change, can be a better person if he wants to, right? If he really tries hard and wants to change, he can change. He or she can be a better person, right? Because if Patrick can change, who never got any A's, and in the last when result was out, he got all A's. So if he can change, anyone can change if he or she tries really hard and do hard work, right? So this was your story. Now what you have to do, you have to find new words in the chapter and write their meanings, okay? And you have to read the whole chapter by yourself so you can better understand it and learn the correct pronunciation of words. And if you have any problem, you can reach out to me, okay? Thank you.